Yo so
Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Swakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yassa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Tamayang Bhagavantam Sadamang Sasankang Imehi Sakare Iyatarahang Arobitehi Abhipujayama Sadhuno Bante Bhagava Suchira Parinibbhutopi Pachima Janatanukampamanasa Ime Sakare Dukkatapanakara Bhute Patiganhatu Amhakang Digaratam Hitaya Sukhaya
Arahang
Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi
Swakato
Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami
Supatipanno
Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami
Namo tassa
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa
Itipiso
Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Sattha Deva Manusanam Buddho Bhagava Tamahang Bhagavantam Abhipujayami Tamahang Bhagavantam Sirasa Namami
Swakato
Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Opanayiko Pacchattam Veditabo Vinyuhi Tamahang Dhammang Abhipujayami Tamahang Dhammang Sirasa Namami
Supatipanno
Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yadidam Chattari ปุริสยุกานิอัตถปุริสปุกลาเอสาภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยพาหุเนโยดักขิเนโยอัญจลิการณิโยอนุตตรังปุญญเขตังโลกัสสะธัมมังสังฆังอภิปูชยามิธัมมังสังฆังศิรสานามามิ
Now the requesting of the 5 precepts.
Mahangaye
Tisaranena saha Pancha silani yachama Dutiyampi mayang aye Tisaranena saha Pancha silani yachama Tatiyampi mayang aye Tisaranena saha Pancha silani yachama
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tisarana-gamanang nititang.
Amaye.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Sura Sura Meraya Majja Pamadatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Sura Meraya Majja Pamadatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Imani Pancha Sikapadani Silena Sugatinyanti Silena Boga Sampada Silena Nibutinyanti Tasma Silang Visotaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
The Buddha's words on loving kindness in English. This is what should be done
by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be happy. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
the Buddha's words on loving kindness in Pali, the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Karaniya Mata Kusalena
Yantan Santam Padang Abhisamecha Sako Ujucha Suhujucha Suvachochasa Mudu Anatimani Santusakocha Subarocha Apakichocha Salahukavutti Santindriyocha Nipakocha Apagabbo Kulesu Ananugito Nachakudang Samachare Kinchi Yena Vinyu Pare Upavadeyum Sukhino Vakemino Hontu Sabe Satta Bhavantu Sukhitata Ye Kechipana Bhutati Tasavata Bharava Anavasesa Digavaye Mahantava Majjimarasaka Anukatula Ditavaye cha adita Ye cha dure vasanti avedure Bhutava sambhave siva Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata Naro param nikubeta Nati manyeta kata chinam kinchi Bayarosana patigasanya Nanyamanya sadukamicheya Bhatayataniyan puttam Ayusa eka puttam anurakhe Evam pisabha bhutesu manasambhavaye aparimanam Metancha sabbalokasmim manasambhavaye aparimanam Udam adochatiriyancha asambadam averam asapattam Titancharam nisinova sayano vayavatassa vigatamito Ekam satim aditteya brahmametam viharam idamahu Ditincha anupagamma silava dasanena sampanno Kame suvineya gedam Nahi jatu gabaseyam punareti
Okay, so once again, just spend a few moments just to review the meditation. Again, trying to understand how this process comes about. Okay, so let us get into the questions again. Okay, lots of questions, that's good. So let's see what happens. Okay, dear Ajahn, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Could you talk a bit about the sensation when we are meditating, that we are observing an object, that object being the breath or the forms of the light, etc. Considering there is no self, what is it that observes thoughts? Okay, so the sensation when we are meditating, that we are observing an object. So the sensation that you are feeling, the sensation is just basically the awareness of the object. That's the main sensation. So it is like a physical sensation that you have in the beginning. And that sensation should ideally be peaceful, nice, pleasant. The whole idea of meditation is to have a pleasant sensation, so it should be a good feeling of the breath. And the better the breath feels, the better it is. The more you're letting go, the more you're relaxing, the more you're allowing the breath just to be, rather than controlling it and all of these kind of things. So that is the idea of the sensation, And then the sensation over time becomes more and more pleasant and more peaceful, if the meditation is working, if you're able to let go, if you're able to follow this process. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the sensation goes in a different direction here. So it will depend on what your mind state is like. So that's why sometimes you prepare the mind a little bit in the beginning, by doing some kind of brief contemplation that leads to letting go, like we just did this evening, a bit of death contemplation perhaps, or a bit of contemplation that lifts the mind up, whatever that might be. We have been talking quite a bit about that on this retreat, and so use that to support, to lighten the sensation, to make it better. So the sensation here, I take it to mean just the feeling of what is going on now. So, I'm not sure that's what you're asking, but maybe it is. Considering there is no self, what is it that observes? Well, what observe is just consciousness. It's just your awareness, and you have awareness. The awareness is there, whether there is a self or not. The awareness is there. That doesn't really change anything whether there's a self, because the self just says something about the nature of the awareness. So a self would mean that the awareness is permanent, whereas if there's no self, the awareness is not permanent. It's just changing. But the awareness is always in charge. The awareness is what always observes. So that doesn't really alter whether there's a self or no self. Yeah, same idea. It's just awareness that observes. Yeah, does that make sense? This is what the meaning of consciousness, when we saw that before, consciousness is that awareness, vijnana in Pali. If I didn't quite hit the mark, give it another shot tomorrow evening. Yeah, one more Q&A before we say goodbye. So, dear Ajahn, thank you for your answers about the cats and their chance of liberation. Okay, good. I'm very happy and relieved that they too can be free from suffering. I will follow the two things you suggested. I do, one, care for them wisely and make progress on my path. Thank you so much, Ajahn. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad I was able to satisfy you on that one. So that's good. Dear Ajahn, thank you. Could you please talk about the concept of Advaita Vedanta? Blessing. So this is where I'm a bit out of my depth, because Advaita Vedanta is these are Hindu teachings or Hindu meditations. And this is the kind of often called the pinnacle of meditation or the pinnacle of both philosophy and meditation within Hinduism. And Vedanta means the end of the Vedas. And so this is kind of the culmination of the Vedas, if you like, in both their philosophy and also the meditation technique. Advaita means non-duality. So non-duality can be considered in a number of ways, but the basic idea in a meditation context is a state of mind where everything is unified. Normally, when we meditate, there's a sense of you observing, and then there's the object. The breath is here, you are observing the breath. But when you reach the state of samadhi, that distinction between observer and object disappears. Everything becomes unified into one thing. And that is why it feels like, you become one with everything. All the kind of ways of discriminating kind of disappear at that point. And that's why these states are so extraordinarily powerful and special, because that normal duality we experience is gone. One experience, no difference between object and observer. Everything merges into one. That's kind of extraordinary. And so in the Hindu meditation tradition, or the Brahmanical meditation tradition, this is called Advaita. Advaita literally means a non-duality. Vedanta is the end of the Vedas, or the Vedic culmination of the Vedas. And a lot of the Advaita Vedanta, there's a lot of influence both ways. You see in the suttas, you can see the influence of some of the meditation traditions of that time were used by the Buddha then to be part of the Noble Eightfold Path, and that power of the mind that comes from that became the Samma Samadhi on the Buddhist path. The difference between Samma Samadhi and the existing tradition is that Samma Samadhi, in other words, right stillness, the last factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, that factor also includes right view. Whereas in Advaita Vedanta, obviously, they didn't have the right view of Buddhism because they were not Buddhists, so they had their own kind of ideas of the world, which from a Buddhist point of view is wrong view. And so when you have that right view of non-self combined with the powerful meditation, that's what we call right meditation or right stillness on the Buddhist path. And that is where Advaita Vedanta goes one way, because they interpret that to mean the ultimate reality of God, of Brahman, and these kind of things. That's their interpretation. Whereas Buddhists say, no, that's not what it means. It means you have to go beyond. You have to actually to have right view, that too is impermanent. So Advaita Vedanta, part of that tradition, developed after Buddhism, and it continued. You have like something called the Yoga Sutra. The Yoga Sutra is kind of one of the most famous texts in Hinduism on meditation practice. And if you look at that sutra, it seems to have been produced a few centuries after Buddhism. And if you look at it, it has many of the concepts of Buddhism are included in the Yoga Sutra. So Buddhism had an effect on Hinduism. Or Brahmanism. So Brahmanism affected Buddhism. That was a lot of the foundation from which Buddhism arose. And then Buddhism in turn affected Brahmanism or Hinduism, and kind of helped them in establishing or using the ideas of Buddhism to explain their meditation techniques. So there's a lot of borrowing back and forth between these traditions, but they are still very distinct in the way they interpret reality. They are very different in that interpretation, and that is where they are different. So it's very important to make that distinction between Advaita Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism. Otherwise, if you think they are the same, then you are kind of, to my mind, really missing the point of what is going on. The Buddha was specifically a critique of the Advaita Vedanta tradition, that they misinterpret the raw data of meditation. Okay, dear Venerable Ajahn, could you please elaborate further on not investing our worldly possessions in relation to the impermanence as they are borrowed stuff? I think to a degree we need to invest some energy, time and or money to all the things we are lent to as we have a duty of care. For example, if you rent a house, we need to invest on buying a mower to mow the lawn and ensure that our cats don't scratch the timber walls. Lots of cats here, we are, etc. If we are sick, we get medicine and or get to see a doctor, as maintaining health is important. Or does it mean if we get cancer, we don't invest time, money, energy to get well, as we are all going to die sooner or later? Thank you. No, it does not mean that. What it means is that as you say, even though you are borrowing something, you look after the things you borrow. This is what it means to be a good person. It means that you treat things properly, even if they're not yours. It doesn't mean you can just destroy something because it belongs to your neighbor. That is not the kind of right attitude. So of course you look after it. But you look after it in a slightly different way if it is yours compared to if it belongs to someone else. It's a different feeling. What does it feel like if something is borrowed compared to you own something? And that difference in feeling tells you something about attachment. It tells you something about where you're coming from when you're dealing with these kind of things. And so just the idea of something being borrowed doesn't mean you don't care. It means you still look after it. It just means your attitude towards it changes. And the idea here is that if you care, you're also making good karma, right? If you care about things, you are looking after things, then you're actually developing your mind. And so you're doing the spiritual work that you're supposed to do, so that then you can carry on in the future in a good way, both in this life and in future life. So caring is absolutely fundamental, but your caring comes from a different place. It's like you care for someone else's property, That is kind of what it means. So when it comes to your body, if you have cancer, sure, of course you look after your body. You try to overcome that cancer, but in a wise way, right? One of the things in the Buddhist idea is that if you have cancer, you don't go to war against the cancer. This is kind of very common in the modern world. We have all of these war metaphors or fighting metaphors. You fight things as if having lots of ill will is going to solve the issue. Usually it makes things worse. Where do these cancers come from? And some of these cancers probably come from negative mind states. If you look back on the idea of karma, certainly karma is negative actions in the past causes problems in the present. So it seems reasonable to think that negative actions and negative attitudes now may also cause problems now. And so having that anger toward the cancer is not really a solution. Cancer is just there. Cancer is doing its thing. Cancer doesn't know what's going on. Just kind of some bad cells in your body doing something bad. So instead, have a more of a welcoming attitude. Ajahn Brahm would probably say, "Welcome, cancer. Welcome, please. Feel free to do what you like." And then the cancer usually disappears because that's not what the cancer wants to hear. So the cancer kind of. But it has to be honest. You really have to feel that way. It's like a burglar coming into your house. "Come in, burglar. Why do you want to burgle my house anyway? What is it that you need? Tell me what you need." "Okay, you need money. Okay, here's some money for you." Or whatever. You do something kind of which is counter to the ordinary way of looking at things. Burglars are burglars for a reason, because they are probably deluded, because they are a bit stupid, but also because they have been conditioned. And so they don't really know what they're doing. Okay, get some poor drug addict coming into your house. Be a bit careful, because you don't know what they're going to do. But they are trapped by that drug addiction. They don't really know what's going on. You do many stupid things when you are really addicted to something. Have compassion for them. They don't know what's happening. Yeah, okay, have compassion for them. Okay, how can we help you? Okay, you need some drugs right now, but maybe we can do something for you in the long run as well, whatever. And so all of these things are just ways of dealing with something very difficult in a positive way. So always look after yourself, but know at the same time that it's only going to last for so long. You only have this body for so long. So you don't invest too much money into this body. And then you're going to be on the right track. So something like that is what I was talking about. It's an attitude. It's not a carelessness. All right. There's quite a lot of questions, so I go a little bit fast maybe. So let's see what happens. Dear Ajahn, it is a blessing to listen to your thoughtful explanations of the suttas. Thank you. Would you be able to explain the difference between Zen and Theravada schools? And is it okay to listen to both teachings? It's okay. It's okay to listen to anything which is useful, anything which is wholesome, anything that is going to move you in the direction of awakening. See what effects it has on you. And if it works and it makes you a better person, then it is good. That is really what it comes down to. One of the things, however, that I would recommend as well, and that is that there is a great variety in Buddhist teachings, and some of the Buddhist teachings are more likely from the Buddha than others. Some of the Buddhist teachings may not be in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, or some of the Buddhism may not be in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, and then there may be a problem. So be a little bit circumspect, and so don't kind of take it all on board as a kind of absolute truth, but use it if it works for you, if it has a positive effect, and then at the same time be a little bit skeptical. Be a little bit alert, basically. That's what I'm saying. So the reason why I use these particular suttas that we're using here is because these, to my mind, are the closest we get to the message of the historical Buddha. These are the most authentic expressions of the wisdom of the Buddha. And we can show that for historical reasons, the development of the suttas, the development of doctrines, the development of language, and all of these kind of things, the historical aspects of the suttas, lots of pointers that these are the most authentic ones. That doesn't mean that later traditions have nothing to say. Sometimes they do, and that's the whole point of giving a Dhamma talk, because you're adding something to the suttas. But sometimes you have to be careful. You can't always trust the later traditions. Sometimes they may distort the Dhamma, and that's why the final recourse should be the suttas. Dear Ajahn, I run a business in which I have to read a lot, write a lot of articles, and create a lot of content. Examples, videos and social media posts. From Buddhist point of view, all of this creation would fall under proliferation, right? Learning from your sutta class, I can be aware that this is proliferation. See how it is taking me away from calm and a peaceful mind, and let go of any results, any attachments to the creations. Is this a good middle way until I can fully let go of it all? Thank you. Yes, it is probably somewhat proliferating. It depends how you do it. You can do anything in life with more or less proliferation. It depends. I have no idea what you are reading and writing and all of these kind of things. So I don't really know exactly what's going on with you. But if you do these kind of things, it is also about how you do it as well. It is not just the fact that it is proliferation, but how do you do it? So when you create a video, do you do it with your customers in mind? Do you do it in a way that gives them some benefit beyond just the mere kind of sensual pleasure or whatever it is that you are doing? So it's about how you do it. And if we put kindness, compassion, care into our work, and we think about our customers, how can they benefit from what we are doing? You're always making good karma, even when you do worldly things. Okay, so I'm going to do this for my customer. At least I'm going to make a nice video, so that at least they can enjoy it. That's already a positive thing. Even if there's zero Dhamma content in the video, at the very least you are, okay, I'm going to do the best for my customers. That is a kind of kindness. Maybe you can even write it in such a way that the language is nice, so that they kind of, it feels good, or it is a bit uplifting or whatever. There's always things you can do that actually are positive. So come from that point of view. Don't just come from the point of view that you are going to make money, or how can I kind of maximize the kind of worldly benefits. Come from this Dhamma point of view in everything you do. And if you do that, then there will be some positive benefit from these things. Any job can be turned into part and parcel of the Buddhist path. And that is what really we should all do. Everything we do should be Dhamma. Everything we do should be moved somehow in that direction. You cannot afford a corner of your life to be non-Dhamma. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Why should any corner of our life not be Dhamma? Everything should be part of the spiritual path. That is when we're on the right track. And it's possible to do that. And if your company asks you to do evil things, then leave that company straight away. Have nothing more to do with that company, because they should never ask you to cheat or ask you to do bad things. If that is the case, then the management is rotten and cannot deal with rotten management. Management at Bodhinyana is very good, so if you want a new job, it's a good place to go. Okay. Hi, Ajahn. Hope you are well. Yes, thank you. I hope so too. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the following people who have made this retreat so pleasant and chillaxing. So we have the retreat organizer, we have the retreat manager. Okay, good. Retreat organizer, retreat manager. Caretakers, Christina and Tim. Retreat manager was Lei Har, kitchen manager, Nolia and Pam? No, that's what it seems to be saying. Yeah, okay. Okay. Pat, I think it should be. But anyway, people who give dana and prepare our delicious lunches. Absolutely, that is kind of really marvelous that people come all the way from Perth, bringing food at great expense to themselves. It's just amazing what people will do. And this, I think, shows the strength of our Buddhist community in Perth, that we can do this amazing, remarkable thing here. The monastics, monks, nuns, samaneris, anagarikas, etc., and all the retreat and participants. Okay, good. Have we forgotten anyone? The teddy bears? Maybe the teddy bears. We can add them onto the list. Thank you all for your kindness and generosity. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Excellent. Okay, and to you, Ajahn Brahmali. Okay, thank you for your Dhamma and your passionate teaching of the suttas. I have a wonderful time on this retreat and thoroughly enjoy learning the suttas from such a humble and compassionate teacher. Remember, what you see and the reality might be two different things, right? When you sit here, you can always pretend to be compassionate and humble. The reality is always uncertain. I'm just kind of warning you, so you don't, it's very hard to know these things. Anyway, just giving you a kind of a balance. I hope you enjoy teaching as well. I always enjoy teaching because when I teach, then I also learn Dhamma. It reminds me of all this wonderful teaching. So I'm very happy to have some nice and wonderful students. So what a wonderful thing that is. May you succeed in achieving the noble quest in this lifetime. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Venerable Sir, if I understood and heard right, you mentioned that both the Lord Buddha and the wheel-turning monarch turns the wheel of the Dhamma. Not quite. Yeah, the wheel-turning monarch doesn't really turn the wheel of the Dhamma. It kind of turns the wheel of the. What does it turn the wheel of? It turns the wheel of the monarch, I suppose. It's more a worldly kind of wheel. It's true that they proclaim the 5 precepts, yeah, and so they live to a large extent in accordance with Dhamma principles, but of course the wheel-turning monarch doesn't really understand the Dhamma in the full sense of the word. Well, I beg to differ. Okay, all right, respectfully. The wheel-turning monarch Chakravarti no Dhamma. From what I read, the wheel-turning monarch rules righteously based on Dhamma for the welfare of his subjects. The wheel refers to that turns by itself after 1,000 years to indicate that the term should end and hand over the rule to his son. But in contrast, the Lord Buddha turned the wheel of Dhamma himself and set it in motion for the welfare of all living beings, sadhu. So that sets our Lord Buddha apart from the monarch. Yes, that's exactly what I had in mind. So yeah, please know if I'm correct. You are correct. We are both correct, and more than that, we are in full agreement on this one. So that is wonderful. Okay, great. Let's go on to the next one. Venerable Sir, if I understood you right, you said the jhanas were practiced by the ancient Indian meditators before the Buddha, including his teachers before he went on his own quest. So were those jhanas practiced by the teachers different to the 4 jhanas that the Buddha taught? So they are different, and this was the point I was making before, that one set of jhanas has a right view coming with them, and that's why they lead to enlightenment, whereas the other ones have wrong view coming with them, and that's why they lead to long rebirth in those realms. If they are the same, then why did the Lord Buddha go to his childhood experience of the first jhana and not to the Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta taught? Yeah, so this is a very good question, and this was what I was going to talk about when we were talking about the Arya Pariyesana Sutta, Noble Search. I was going to get there, but then time told me you have to stop. So I had to stop at that point. But I this is a very interesting point, right? I fully agree with you. It is very interesting. Yeah. And I think the answer is actually not that, actually there's a few possibilities in that answer. So the first thing which I was very fascinated that I talked about very briefly is the fact that the child, the Buddha-to-be, entered a jhana. I think that is very, very interesting in its own right, because it shows a little bit about what it takes to enter a jhana. I did mention that already, but I just wanted to reiterate that. The child has no spiritual path, doesn't know anything about meditation, has no dogmas or religious ideas or anything. It just chills under the Bodhi tree waiting for his father. That's all it does. And that's when you enter jhana. Yeah, that says a lot about how meditation works. Yeah, you really just have to let go. You just have to wait. You just have to relax. You have to be that child just waiting for your parents. Can you go back to that childhood? Go back to childhood, yeah. Childhood is better than you think. You can enter jhanas in childhood. In adulthood, you can't sometimes, yeah. So go back to your childhood. Maybe you can do it. That sense of simplicity of a child's mind, yeah. Sometimes a child can be very peaceful. We don't have these complicated minds that kind of dealing with all the issues in the world. Yeah, and this is kind of the beauty sometimes of childhood. Childhood can also be very difficult, but it also has kind of the beautiful sides. So that says a lot about the idea of meditation practice once you understand that. But then the other thing, as you rightly point out, why didn't the Buddha remember the time under his 2 teachers? And what this tells us is the power of wrong view. Wrong view is so powerful that it was impossible for the Buddha-to-be to remember those things without also remembering the wrong view that came with those things. He was studying under Brahmanical teachers who had the idea that when you get to these things, that is the purpose of the spiritual path. That is when you get unified with the universal consciousness, even the most profound aspects of that consciousness. And so that view traps you in a certain way, yeah? And that view is so entrapping that it was impossible for the Buddha to separate out the view from the attainments. He had to go back to another experience earlier on when he didn't have any views, when he was a child, yeah, when that was free from those views. And only then was he able to see that that attainment could be used apart from those views as a separate way to awakening. And to me, what this shows is how incredibly entrapping our views are. Once you have the wrong view, it's incredibly difficult to find the way out. Yeah, this is why that's why most views in the world are views about eternal gods and creator gods and all of these kind of things. And they trap you in a very, very powerful way. It's very hard to get out unless you have a Buddha that says, actually, listen, there's a problem with this. Yeah, this goes deeper. It's incredibly hard to see. And that is why it is so rare that Buddhas arise in the world. Because making this breakthrough, actually, it It is not impossible, but it's very, very close to impossible. And it is almost like there are no miracles in Buddhism, but if there were miracles, this is as close as you get to kind of a miracle, someone actually making that breakthrough. So this is my main takeaway, the entrapment of wrong view on the path. There are other ways of interpreting this, and another way is that what he learned under the two teachers, Lara Kalama and Urukram Buddha, was not actually those profound states of meditation. They were lesser meditations. And there is some evidence for that, that is the case. If you want to know that evidence, I don't know if you want to know it, but if you want to know it, ask me tomorrow night and I'll reply it then. So I don't get too kind of carried away by these things. If they are different, the jhana practice in ancient India to that of the Lord Buddha, please practice explain the difference. So there you are. That is the explanation here. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Dear Ajahn, does the sutta on getting rid of resentment or two kinds of thought sutta be applied, or two kinds of thought sutta be applied to situations? Can it be a form of positive thinking to see the bright side of things? Thank you. Yes, it can be a form of positive thinking, I would say, but remember, positive thinking, for it to be powerful, it has to be realistic. And I think a lot of the positive thinking in the world is not really realistic. We're trying to be positive when actually it's negative, or the reality doesn't really support that positive thinking. It's an artificial kind of positivity. And when it is artificial, it is very weak, because the evidence will point in a different direction, and then bang, it is overthrown, and then it gets even more difficult afterwards. So it is very important that the positive thinking is grounded in reality. That kind of positive thinking has a chance not only to withstand the realities of the world, but to grow and become incredibly powerful. So that's why when we want to use the resentment sutta, you focus on the positive qualities in a person. We know that people have both positive qualities and bad qualities. We don't deny the bad qualities, but we decide to focus on the positives, and we rejoice in the positive qualities. Usually we tend to be the opposite. We only focus on the bad in people. That is a very bad idea. So we learn to focus on the positive instead, and we think, wow, what a wonderful thing that they have positive qualities. And we rejoice in that. We build that up. And then we kind of look away from the bad qualities. We know they may be there. We don't allow other people to take advantage of us. But if the positive qualities are there, we really rejoice in that. It's like on this retreat, you rejoice in good people coming here. The main thing is not whether people here have bad qualities. Of course, everyone here is going to have some small bad qualities. So what? That's kind of irrelevant. The fact that everyone is here doing the right thing, intending to do the good thing, that is what is important. That is what is impressive. Despite all the conditioning, despite all the difficulties in life, we are still trying to live well, still trying to do what is good. That's really worth celebrating. That is worth kind of, feeling good about. So that's how you do it, without being false about it. You see the good qualities in other people. And then there are some people in the world where it is very difficult to see the good qualities because they have lots of bad qualities. But then that is where compassion comes in. If someone has a lot of bad qualities and they are trapped by those bad qualities because of their past, because of their upbringing, because of past lives, because of what have you, we are trapped by these things. I don't think anyone really wants to be bad. I think everyone in the world ultimately wants to be good, or at least everyone wants to be happy at the very least. And if they don't understand that goodness leads to happiness, they have a great deficiency inside of them. I think most of us, we know that goodness leads to happiness, because when you are good, you feel happy, you feel good about yourself. So we know that. And many people know that, but they can't stop themselves. They still do bad things, even though they know that being good, being wholesome, being kind is the way to go, because the conditioning is so strong. And that's it's a bit sort of hard, difficult to bear, right? If people want to be kind, but they can't do it because the conditioning overpowers that understanding. That is why we have compassion for people, because the conditioning is so strong. And all of this is a result of the non-self view in Buddhism. Because if there's no self, everything is conditioning here. And then you start to have compassion for everyone in the world. So base your positive thinking on things that are sustainable, on realistic ideas and assumptions about people. And when it is based on that, then it will work. But don't just force yourself to think positively when actually there may be no basis for that, because that may actually be detrimental. And so this is how you do it. And this is what the getting rid of resentment sutta is about. To see the bright side of things, yes, in the sense, you see the good qualities in other people and you have compassion for them. That is kind of what I mean by the bright side here. Two kinds of thought sutta, Advaita Vedanta sutta. Have a look at it for yourself. It's really interesting sutta. Majjhima Nikaya number 19. Okay. Dear Ajahn, many thanks for your teachings. I saw that when you were in Anukampa last year that you taught the Araka Sutta. That's a really nice sutta. I like that one. Can you briefly talk about this and how we can use this in our meditation practice? Sadhu times 3 here. Okay, so the Araka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 7's number, what number is it? 74 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number here. Anguttara Nikaya 7's 63. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Ananda, for being here. That's kind of very handy. So 763, Anguttara Nikaya. Okay. So what do we need a computer for when we have you, Ananda? No need for computer. We have our own human computer in human form. That's very, very handy. So, okay. So Araka Sutta. So now please correct me, Ananda, if I get the sutta completely wrong. I thought that, you're right, okay, but you remember it. I've probably forgotten about it in the meantime, right? So that's really good. So the Araka Sutta is about this person who lived a long time ago. This is before there was any Buddhism in the world. This is like a story from the ancient past, And at that time, of course, there was no Buddhism, but there were still meditators. And so Araka, he was a teacher of a large group of people, and he was said to be Vitaraga. Vitaraga means without lust, or without desire. And in other words, his meditation, his metta, I think it was metta meditation that he was doing, I can't remember exactly what it was so powerful that he had abandoned the 5 hindrances, right? And then his teaching to his disciples was as follows, life is short and full of suffering. That was his teaching to his disciples. He had a large number of disciples. Life is short and full of suffering. And then he gives all these similes about how short life is. And one of the similes is just like the dew on the blade of grass evaporates in the morning when the sun rises. So in the same way, the life of human beings is short and full of suffering. That's pretty short, right? The evaporation of the dew of the kind of blade of grass. And there's a number of similes like that. And one of the really powerful similes in there is about the cow being led to the slaughter. Life of human beings is like a cow being led to slaughter. For every step that cow moves, she is one step closer to death. That's this powerful death contemplation for you. The cow is moving to the slaughterhouse. For every step she moves, she's getting one step closer to that slaughterhouse. In the same way, every step we take, we're getting one step closer to death. Kind of very, very powerful. And then there is a number of other similes. I'm not going to dare to try to remember them because I probably won't. But all of them are about the shortness of life, and how short it is. And then comes the punchline at the end of the sutta. But in those days, the life of human beings was 80,000 years, and they only had 3 illnesses. The 3 illnesses was cold and heat, and going to the toilet or something like that, and those were the illnesses in those days. That was all they had in illnesses. Life is short and full of suffering. That was the teaching. And so the idea is, right, that we can use these kind of things to help us on the spiritual path. Even at the time like this, when it was 80,000 years, still there was enough suffering and shortness of life to think about. But of course now it is far, far less. And that is kind of the culmination of the sutta. But what to speak of now, when we have all of these illnesses and lifespan is only 100 years or whatever. And so it's kind of, it gives a strong impression when you do that sutta. It's more strong when you read it out. This is a bit too short, but that's kind of the gist of that sutta, if you like. So use it in your practice to remember that life is indeed short. Life is indeed has a lot of suffering to it. Human life is said to be good because it has probably more happiness than suffering, but there's plenty of suffering around, and sometimes we forget it. We forget kind of the suffering. We become too optimistic about life. We forget the reality, and then one day the suffering kind of comes, and it really kind of hurts you really, really badly because you forgot about it. But it's always there under the surface, waiting to come back. Now is the chance to do something about it. Now is the opportunity. Take the opportunity when things are going well. They will not go well for that much longer, guaranteed, in whatever way. Now is the opportunity. Don't waste the chance. Something like that. Okay, Ajahn, are perceptions to be experienced? Thank you. If it is not a perception, you are not experiencing it. If it is a perception, you will have to experience it. Perception is an experience by definition. This is kind of what it means to have an experience. It means that you have a perception. So whenever you have I should maybe say that of course it depends on how we use these words. And this is kind of the problem, is that people use these words differently. But the idea of sanya in Buddhism actually means the ability to recognize anything. Sometimes it is translated as recognition. So the fact that we are here, the fact that you have any kind of experience, the reason you can talk about that experience is because you have a perception of it. You perceive happiness, you perceive pain, you perceive light, you perceive darkness, you perceive people, you perceive emptiness, you perceive bricks, ceilings, lights, all of these kind of things. You perceive sounds. Any kind of experience, there has to be a perception. Otherwise, you don't know that what is going on. You don't know that there is an experience. So there's always it is always an experience. And but they can still be developed. Certain perceptions can be developed, like the perception of impermanence. And then you start to experience the world differently because you are developing your perceptions. The world starts to look different, and so in this way your experience changes in accordance with that. That's kind of the idea here with developing your perceptions. Okay, dear Ajahn, is it correct? Okay, I've got to move on a bit here. Is it correct to say that by practicing present moment awareness in daily activities as part of right effort, one could notice a decrease, if not a lack of sense of self for that duration of time, thereby helping to deepen the understanding of non-self, anatta? Thank you. Yes, present moment awareness does tend to decrease the sense of self, because instead of being involved with the world and involved with what is important to you and all these kind of things, you're standing back a little bit, you have more clarity. So it does reduce the sense of self. Does it help in deepening the understanding of non-self? Maybe a little bit, but not all that much. If you really want to understand non-self, you have to go deep in meditation. That's really the only way here. It will be pretty superficial what you can do in daily life. The most important thing, the most important reason for having presence, having awareness in daily life, the most important reason is so that you can know what you're doing. You know what is going on. You can purify yourself. You can stop the anger before it arises. That is the most important reason. Just being aware so that you can see non-self is not that useful, I would say. And then if you are able to purify yourself more by being more aware And also, as I said the other day, by having more right view. Right view is fundamental for you to be able to really fulfill the sila in daily life. If you can use it in that way, then your meditation will be deeper next time you go on retreat. But if you are just aware in daily life, it may not change all that much what happens on retreat, because the causes of deep meditation is sila. The cause of deep meditation is right view. That is where we should put in the effort, because that will allow meditation to deepen in the long run. Just being aware in its own right does not necessarily have any effect on the meditation. In any case, the awareness itself depends on sila and right view. Your ability to be aware itself depends on those things. If you have a mind that is full of hindrances, it will stop the awareness. The mind will kind of the causes of ill will and desire and all of these things will make the mind go into the past and the future and will stop you from being properly aware of what's happening here. So make that the main reason of awareness in daily life. I know that there is often a lot of emphasis on this idea of being aware in daily life and all of these kind of things. It's a very common thing in Buddhist circles. But my understanding of the suttas, and I'm not going to go into detail about this because it's quite a difficult and involved argument in many ways. But the way I understand the suttas, the main purpose in daily life is not just to be aware of things, but to be aware in a specific way so as to purify yourself. That is the main reason for these things. Just awareness in its own right. There's nothing wrong with it, of course, and it's better than not being aware, but it doesn't have any great impact. Dear Ajahn, as we value and start to become better at the inner life, we lose interest in the outer life. As we gradually purify virtue, we can start to love others better. Nevertheless, we can also feel that most people aren't quite on the same wavelength. So even though happiness and independence and confidence are slowly increasing, a sense of loneliness can also exist. At Bodhinyana, there are two amazing living teachers. I think having such kalamittas in residence could make a huge difference. But I suspect even there, some people have to face this particular stage. How do I navigate this? Thank you and much metta. P.S. When cultivating the perception of anicca, one gets a sense of what Ajahn Brahm means when he says to lower expectations to zero, especially about people, but this makes this stage harder. Okay. Yes, that is true, but this is where the idea of metta and compassion comes in. And if you feel separated from others, you don't feel that you are on the same wavelength. Practice metta, practice compassion. What really reduces the distance between us and other people is our ability to have this metta and see the goodness in them, and also have compassion for them. When you have that, you always feel connected. In fact, you could argue, you can say in many ways, even if you are by yourself in your kuti, not having any connection with anyone, you can often feel more connected with the world simply by the idea of having metta for everyone. Metta creates connection. It's the opposite of being apart, being separated. So practice that part in your life, and then you will feel more connected. And by metta, I mean metta by body and speech, but also metta just mentally by how you think and in meditation practice as well. And then connection arises. And then of course the other thing is to choose your friends wisely. Make sure you do indeed have a kalyana mittas as much as possible. And there will be people in life, there are many good people in the world. I'm always surprised at how many good people there are. And they may not be Buddhists or whatever, they may be Christians, they may be Muslims, they may be atheists, they may be nothing, they may have no idea about anything. But still, they can have a good heart, and that is worthwhile. That is also always beautiful, and then you can always connect with people like that. People with a good heart will always tend to inspire you in the right direction, even if some of the views are a bit strange and a bit funny. And so hang out with those people with good hearts, and then I'm sure you will be able to connect in a good way with people. Dear Ajahn Brahmali, I hope I'm repeating this correctly. You mentioned that when you are a non-returner, you get reborn in the Rupa Loka realm. No, that is non-returner? Yes, that is correct. How do you go from being a non-returner to becoming an arahant? Can you develop arahantship in Rupa Loka? Here is someone who is very ambitious, which is good. It's good to be ambitious. So if you do get reborn as a non-returner in those realms, usually you just have to bide your time and wait, and then eventually you just pass away from there, and then that's it. That's the end of the story. You don't get reborn again once you get reborn in the Rupa Loka. You stay there for the time period of that rebirth, and then the moment you come out of that rebirth, bang, you usually go straight, you become an arahant straight away. There's also a possibility of getting reborn in many rebirths within that Rupa Loka. There's 7 kinds of non-returners according to the suttas, and these are just different ways in which you abide, different kind of sequences. Some get reborn straight away, or some become arahant straight away. There's different things that happen there according to, some people, they are non-returners, and then they become arahants at the moment they land in that realm where they're supposed to be. Others takes a while for things to happen. So there's all kinds of possibilities for non-returners. But generally speaking, you don't do very much in those realms. You just wait till you become an arahant. So the arahantship is usually to be developed as a human being, not as a non-returner. Anyway, it's so pleasant, you don't really need to kind of develop anything. You're probably just enjoying your time, and then when you finally pass away, then you're happily an arahant. Okay, one online question. Online question, okay. Okay, that's good. I'm happy to see online questions. I'll put that to one side for now, and we'll take it maybe last. I think today, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish all these questions today, but I always promise on these retreats that I will finish all questions, and I'll make that promise today as well. So we're going to get through it. If not today, at least tomorrow. Dear Ajahn, I am an allied health professional in WA whose clients include those with terminal illness. As you may know, voluntary assisted dying is legal in WA. Understandably, there is a strict eligibility criteria, but basically it's legal for people with unbearable suffering to end their lives with medical assistance. Can you please comment in light of the suttas? So the idea in Buddhism, the root idea of what is good and bad karma, is not about rules. If you look at the 5 precepts, you might think killing is wrong, so therefore you can never kill. But the root idea of morality is the intention that lies behind the action. And if the intention has certain qualities, if it is a good intention, then it is not bad karma. If it is a bad intention, it is bad karma. So the question is it possible to kill with good intention? That is the question. And I would say that if you are able to help someone with assisted dying purely out of compassion, purely out of this person doesn't want to live, do I have the right to force them to live? I think this is, to me, one of those questions that is really important. Sometimes we say, no, you have to live. We will not allow you to die because our laws don't allow it. Do we have the right to say that to other people, to force them to live against their will? I don't know if we do. If someone really wants to die, maybe the compassionate thing is to allow them to die. So I would say that in the cases of this, I would say the karma is not, it's hard to say exactly what it is. It's somewhere kind of in between. It's what I would call gray karma. It is neither very, very bright, nor is it very, very dark. You are going from what seems to be the right thing to do in that kind of situation, having compassion for people, if someone is in that kind of unbearable situation. So karma ultimately is about what motivates your intention. Compassion, ill will, kindness, generosity, clarity, or delusion. Yeah, this is the sort of thing. So look into your motivations. Try to find out what is going on. Make it as pure as possible, and then you are making the best possible karma in that difficult situation. Is it possible to make good karma by helping someone to die? Maybe, because you are assisting someone coming from compassion. It's hard for me to really say with absolute certainty, but maybe it is possible. But you have to know. I cannot tell you whether it is right or wrong in any particular case. That is a decision you will have to make for yourself and knowing your own mind. Okay. Meditation has become a bothersome chore for me that I now tend to avoid, because every time I watch the breath, it is as if I have to make the in and out breaths happen. Breathing becomes forced and controlled. It is exhausting. Logically, of course, I can see this is wrong, yet it has gone on for over a decade. Any advice on how to overcome this? Thank you. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to stop watching the breath. Stop watching the breath. No more breath for you. That is, and this is the thing, because it has come to a point where you're not really able to watch the breath in the right way. Let go of the breath completely. Chillax instead. Yeah, you are just relaxing. You are lying on your bed, watching the ceiling, sitting in your armchair, just allowing time to go and enjoying the peace of the moment. That is all you should do for a while and see what happens. Yeah, just sit back and enjoy the peace. And this is the thing that sometimes happens, that you kind of get into a bad habit with the breath, and when you get into that bad habit, it actually becomes very problematic and very unpleasant to be with the breath. Let it go completely here. Do some other kind of meditation for a while. Just spacious meditation, just being aware, just being present. Yeah, don't even try to be present, just relax. Come back to this idea of when you are really tired and you lie down, or you come back after a long day's work and you're just relaxing somewhere. What does that feel like? Or you're just about to go asleep at night. What is that like when you're just about to go to sleep at night? That is the kind of state you want to be. When you're just relaxing, you're just letting go, you're just being, not doing anything. You're enjoying something beautiful, like seeing a sunset. Yeah, you're not doing anything. You're not trying to see the sunset. And as you do that, then you learn to relax again. You learn to just be rather than controlling things. And then you can do a little bit of metta meditation. The idea here is that if you do things that purify you, metta meditation, doing the first parts of the Noble Eightfold Path, then that will also enable you to let go. This is the weird thing. Yeah, the more good habits you have, that will enable you to let go. So please don't practice any more breath meditation. Let it be completely. I'm glad you asked this kind of question. Yeah, because this is actually very important. And that there are many people who struggle with that kind of thing. You will only be one among many, many, many. Almost everyone tries too hard. And most people don't have enough mindfulness to be able to do this skillfully. Just sit back and allow things to be. And then down the track, when you learn to kind of get your mind balanced again, you can occasionally try the breath meditation. When you do this, when you try to let go, sometimes the breath will still be there, because your habit is now so strong on catching hold of the breath that you may not be able to let go of the breath fully. Yeah, the breath will just come whether you want to or not. And that's okay. If the breath comes, it's okay. But don't watch it. Don't worry about it. Just let it be there, as if it is something that is, just like the the lights are there, or the sun is in the sky. It's just present, but it's not something that you need to worry about. So it is present, but you don't worry about it. You just relax. You just enjoy. You allow your mind just to be a little bit, whatever it might be. And so you gradually learn to let go. And eventually the idea of the breath is a bit like I was mentioning before. The idea is like seeing a tree in the forest. You're not trying to control the tree in the forest, it's just there. And this is a natural phenomenon in the world. In the same way, the breath is like a natural phenomenon. It is not really your breath anymore, it's just a breath. And then you are aware of it with a sense of distance, with a sense of non-involvement. And that is the best way to watch the breath. Yeah, over time you kind of get there. So take a few steps back. Yeah, and then the most important thing is that you have learned something, right? And so take a few steps back, try again, and hopefully this is the beginning of something much better. Yeah, nothing has been lost. It's merely the fact that you are learning as you progress. Okay. Okay, so now dear Ajahn Brahmali, when we make such profound changes in our minds, do they also manifest physically in the body? Yes, absolutely. Your body becomes more relaxed, your body becomes more at ease. I think often it also leads to less illnesses in the body, actually. The more better your mind states, the more likely your body is to be in a good shape as well. Are there changes in the body that we can observe? Yes, I think you can observe some changes. Generally speaking, your body, again, is at ease and relaxed. And sometimes the changes are of the variety you see in Ajahn Brahm. So you are so relaxed, yeah, you don't really worry about your body anymore, and kind of the body just kind of, it's interesting. A lot of the kind of these great meditators, yeah, and actually Ajahn Ganha was a bit like that, also a famous meditator. He also became really overweight, and the doctor told him, if you don't reduce your weight, you're going to be in serious trouble. So somehow he was able to reduce his weight as well. So that's kind of unusual, but it's fairly common among these kind of meditators, yeah. They just kind of tend to expand. There's more of them, yeah. Maybe that's a good thing. There's more of these kind of great meditators. So so I think that may be a byproduct, especially when your meditation is really, really deep. And one of the reasons is because you don't really care so much about what you look like or what other people think or about the body. You are all in your mind. Your mind is what matters to you. And the body, all these things are kind of irrelevant. And you just let go completely. And if people say you are too fat, you say, yes, I'm too fat, and you carry on. That's kind of what happens. That's kind of nice in a sense, you know. I like this idea that people don't really care about these things. There's something very beautiful and profound about that. All they care about is their mind, the spiritual advancement. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. There's something very beautiful about that. And so it may not be good for the length of your life, but it's something very powerful and regardless. So I'm going to take one more question. I'll take the one from online, and then I will stop, and please keep adding questions, and we will hopefully do it all tomorrow. So from online, dear Ajahn, thank you for your teaching. Thanks also to the people behind the scenes for the high-quality streaming service. My question is, I enjoy a cup of coffee, but does the mild stimulating effect get in the way of meditation? That would be bad news for me if it was in the way of meditation, or indeed Ajahn Brahm, or indeed Venerable Patipada, or indeed many, many, many monks and nuns, I think, as well, who enjoy a good cup of coffee. The best thing to do is to just check it for yourself, whether it gets in the way of meditation or not. For some people, it may make them too restless. For others, it may not have an effect. I know Ajahn Brahm has a cup of coffee often early in the morning, and for him it certainly is a very positive thing for his meditation. As for myself, actually coffee doesn't affect me very much. This is the weird thing. I don't have any much effect from coffee. So I drink coffee more because I enjoy a nice cup of coffee. That's really the only reason. It doesn't really make me restless or have any effect on my mind. I can have a cup of coffee and go straight to sleep afterwards, no problem. That's the way I work. So this has very different effect on different people. Does it make it more difficult to achieve a really still mind? Again, you test it out on yourself. Also, is it a transgression of precept, especially when doing a retreat? It is definitely not a transgression of precepts. Coffee is not it's not a mind-altering stimulant in the sense that it kind of makes you deluded or stupid. You are still have your senses with you. It just can make you a bit more restless, or maybe give you some energy when the mind is tired, in which case it may be positive. So check it out for yourself and do whatever is required. One last thing before we call it a day, and it was suggested to me that I should advertise this book. Advertising. This book is called Flowing to Freedom, A Joyous Ride to Awakening, and it has my name on it. I didn't produce this book because of this donkey business. I'm a bit afraid now. So this book was put together by Venerable Karunika at Santi Monastery here. And she put it together as a fundraiser for her monastery. So this book is now has been sold in Singapore, in Malaysia, and also in the Buddhist Society here in Perth. And all the proceeds, the idea is for all the proceeds to go to Santi Monastery here. So actually, the truth is that the money has already been paid to Santi. So now the BSW is trying to recoup their money. That's actually the reality of it. But the idea is the same, right? The idea is ultimately it is a support for Santi Monastery. So I believe there is some nice Dhamma in there. Yeah. So if you enjoy my style of teaching, you'll probably find more of it in there. Some of this is not found in the usual talks I give, so you may be interesting for you. It's a great way to support the bhikkhunis, and it's also an opportunity to support yourself and everyone. It's a double bonus. So if you feel like supporting, now is your chance, your opportunity. And if you want my signature, I'll also be very happy to sign it for you if you like that. We can do that at the very end of the retreat, perhaps. Okay, so that is all for tonight. So once again, please have a nice rest. And then we'll see you back again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And just let's finish off by paying respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami